You ever notice how nothing gets fixed, but somehow the people pointing it out become the problem?
All right, check this out. This is a bit crazy. California Democrats advance Stop Nick Shirley Act to criminalize investigative journalism. So after I expose widespread fraud all across America, and quite frankly, states like Minnesota and California are just the worst at it, letting fraud take place, especially inside of immigrant communities. For instance, the Somalians in Minnesota and then the Armenians in California. And so now they're trying to silence anybody who exposes fraud inside of California. For instance, if this bill is passed, the Quality Learning Center that was in Minnesota would be protected from being exposed. That is absolutely crazy. And the crazy thing about this is the person who's proposing this bill, her name is Mia Bonta. Her husband is the Attorney General of California. And so let's say you expose fraud. This is what could happen to you inside the state of California. You could get a misdemeanor, a $10,000 fine, imprisonment, and your content forced to be deleted. That is absolutely crazy. It is time for people to either stand up or we face mass oppression from those that rule us.
Insane, man. Shout out to Nick Shirley for his work, first of all, y'all. If y'all can put that in the comments, that'd be super. Because we gotta... Seriously, man. Now, pay attention to what's really happening here. A bill gets introduced, but it doesn't go after fraud. It goes after exposure of the fraud. That's a very specific decision, because if the priority was cleaning things up, you'd aim at the mess, right? Because it would be obvious. But this aims at the person holding the camera. So now the question becomes, why is that the pressure point?
In this building, right behind me, they just passed a bill that would practically outlaw Nick Shirley-style journalism by creating a chilling effect on people like him when they go expose fake hospice and daycare centers that use ghost or just non-existent clients. So here's the reality about this. If Nick Shirley were to go and record an employee or an owner of one of these fake operations under this bill that they just passed, he would be liable for a minimum of $4,000 in fines, plus he would face a 4-year injunction where he would not be allowed to record this person, whether it's the owner or an employee who is a fraudster, because they don't want to be included on camera. And then on top of that, the fines could multiply up to 3 times that if he refuses to take down the video. This is his First Amendment right, by the way. This is our First Amendment right, to cover these issues, and they want to take that away from us. Now, if they can try to get him on fake doxing charges, or fake he threatened somebody charges, or fake he enabled a third party to put somebody else's life in danger kind of a thing, well then he could get criminal charges, right? And a $10,000 fine. So in Gavin Newsom's California, if you attempt to expose a fraudster as a legitimate independent journalist, there is no carve-out for you in this kind of a bill. And the reason is because they want to put you in jail. They want to throw you in jail. If they could, they would love to see you in jail. They would love to see you destitute, financially broke, bankrupt, because you're doing the citizens a favor by showing them the fraudulent and unethical places that their money is going. That's the bottom line. So next time you come across a immigrant services center, which is what this bill broadly defines, or if you're doing a video of it, which this bill broadly defines as harassment, you might find yourself in trouble.
And right on time, here comes the explanation. People documenting, recording, exposing what they're seeing, and suddenly the behavior gets relabeled. Not necessary, not helpful, problematic. Yeah, man, that right there, that whole little twist, that's where it's really dangerous, because once exposure becomes and be considered harassment, you don't have to fix anything anymore. You just have to control who's allowed to show it. I'm telling you, man, this is wild stuff here, man. Seriously. Now, let's see what actually happens when nobody's watching closely.
There's feces everywhere.
Exactly.
A Medicaid-funded care provider, under investigation for fraud, vanishes.
They just disappeared and never showed back up.
Months later, we looked into what and who was left behind.
This was a vulnerable person who clearly wasn't getting help with their living situation.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
In this St. Paul apartment building amid the debris.
So it looks like they left a bunch of their records here on the floor.
A paper trail that reveals the company under investigation for fraud was getting $522 every single day from taxpayers to give this person care.
That's pretty incredible.
That's insane.
Also left behind.
Hi, how are you? I'm AJ.
Vulnerable people with disabilities living in the fallout, including a 7-month-old baby girl surrounded by uncertainty, despair, and fear.
I'm scared. I don't want to be out in the streets with my baby.
Everyone here told us variations of the same story.
I'm lost right now. I don't know where to go. It's pretty bad.
Meanwhile, just down the road in the gilded halls of power,
can we get assurances of continuity of care?
top human services officials promised they're doing their best to ensure clients of Medicaid providers accused of fraud get care.
We are working very hard at DHS on continuity of care.
But in these halls, we found no staff, no help, no care.
I feel used. I feel violated. I feel worthless.
Law enforcement sources tell me the lead suspect in the fraud investigation fled the country. I'm KARE 11 investigative reporter AJ Legault. Follow for more news.
Now, this is where it stops being theory. Over $500,000 per person per day for services that allegedly weren't even happening in the first place. And the system, it didn't stop it. It didn't catch it early. It didn't protect the people dependent on it. The only thing that it stopped was it getting noticed. Quite literally, that was the only thing. And even then, too late. Now think about that. If exposure gets harder, what happens to situations like this?
One of our spending bills making its way through Congress was a $1 million earmark from Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, which was an earmark that was supposedly going to a substance abuse clinic, which actually happened to be housed in a restaurant and run by 3 individuals that share the same residential address, according to their IRS paperwork. Tons of red flags. So this is what we saw with the fraud involving the daycare centers. Now we see other earmarks coming directly from members of Congress where it seems fraud is being perpetrated as well. So I raised the issue, and fortunately, the House has now stripped that earmark out of that spending bill. But again, this is how easy money has been flowing to bad actors in Minnesota.
Now, we're talking about money getting approved at the highest level. A clinic that turns out to be a restaurant. It's not a small oversight, huh? That's something that should have been called before a dollar move, but it wasn't. It got enough, and again, it got through. It got enough money. Should have said that. More than enough. But it got through, and again, the only reason it gets pulled is because someone questioned it. Not because the system flagged it, not because the process worked perfectly, but because someone pushed back. Now, I want you to watch what happens when that pushback gets directed straight at the source.
Congresswoman Omar, you were just talking about how Trump's economy has failed the American people, but I think the American people really want to know how you went from a negative $65,000 before coming into Congress to over $30 million in just 7 years.
My disclosure is public now.
Yeah, it is. And so a lot of people now are looking into that and finding S. Crew Winery, a winery that doesn't actually seem to exist. Is that a real winery, or?
Do you all actually look at and read things, or do you just ask silly questions?
Well, it's listed in the financial disclosure. So can you explain it? Because we have a lot of questions about it and things just aren't adding up. There's no real phone number. There's no real location.
Why did you want to buy some wine?
Probably not from you, to be honest. Recently stated that the American people should be afraid of the white man. They should be fearful of the white man.
I never said that.
Yeah, you're on video saying it.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
No, I did not. Yes, you.
Again, this is like what I said. You need to prepare yourself because you can't continue embarrassing yourself like this.
So I'm just a liar.
What I was quoting was an actual study done by the FBI.
Okay, thank you.
Just prepare next time.
All right, thank you, Congresswoman.
I never said that to what I was quoting. That response tells you more than any answer ever could, because instead of clarity, you just get dismissal. Instead of transparency, you just get an attitude. Silly questions. And here's the part I'm sure a lot of people have missed. Questions only feel silly when answering them becomes inconvenient. Otherwise, just answer and move on. Pretty simple, right? But it raises an even bigger question. What exactly is being protected here?
Ilhan Omar's net worth went up $30 million. The question is how?
She's serving the interest of America?
Well, absolutely not. And for somebody like me that has served this country, for someone like me that loves this country, to be one of 435 people is an honor. And I can't imagine doing anything that would be harmful to this great nation. And the idea that we are discovering fraud at the federal level, the fact that Ilhan Omar makes about $174,000 a year, but somehow miraculously she is worth $30 million allegedly, which should be investigated, is a problem. And I am somebody that has vowed to not make money on the taxpayer's dime in the form of trades, in the form of making money, in the form of fraud. I vowed to do that because at the end of the day, I serve the people and I serve this country, and people like her have got to be held accountable.
And you think she should resign?
Of course, I think she should absolutely resign.
Ilhan Omar's net worth went up 30.
Oof. Now the tone completely shifts, because once enough people start noticing the same thing, you can't brush it off the same way. Now it becomes investigate, look deeper, follow it all. Let's see it through, my boy, all the way through. And this is where everything you just watched connects, right? A bill that makes exposure even harder. You got people exposing things, getting reframed as the issue. My guy, Nick Shirley, you got fraud out here slipping through until it just completely explodes. Money getting approved with obvious gaps. Questions getting brushed off instead of answered. Then finally, calls to investigate after the damage is already done. It's not 6 separate moments, right? What do y'all think I'm going to say it is? Is that repeating itself? And the real question isn't whether each situation is perfect or messy. It's this. Why does the system always seem to be more concerned with controlling the spotlight than fixing the spotlight that it actually lands on? Damn, once you start asking that, everything starts lining up a little too clean. So if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to write, follow the spotlight. You can go and turn that into a song. Follow. No, let me not. I ain't got no vocals. And I be trying though. I wish. Yeah, I'm a wish I coulder singer. Other than that, y'all be safe. Go check out somebody today. Same thing. You could be saving their life. Peace.